We just never do things the easy way, do we, at Bradford City? 7 games to go, and over the last couple of weeks we picked up 1 point from Accrington, Tranmere and Gillingham. Welcome back to the League 2 review. It is game week 39 and we have 12 more matches to go through and review. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, 100 likes as always would be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Who do you think is getting promoted? Who do you think will be relegated as well? And let's get straight into it. We'll start things out then with Friday night's kickoff between Tranmere Rovers and Cheltenham Town. It finished 2-0 to the host, and that's probably them in League 2 for another season. For Cheltenham, it's just a bit of a disappointing result. I've seen a few of their fans starting to turn on Michael Flynn, and obviously you'll watch your club a lot more often than what I do, but I think for Cheltenham, it was never going to be a season where they really challenged, considering the amount of transfer drama and basically a full rebuild of a brand new squad in the summer. It wasn't really going to be a season this year for them to get and challenge for the playoffs, and now they know they're going to be mid-table. Maybe that motivation isn't as much there as what it should be at this moment in time. But Tranmere opened the scoring on at 25 minutes. Corner comes into the box from Josh Hawkes, and little Christian Dennis heads in at the front post. Terrible goalkeeping from the Cheltenham goalkeeper, and the same can be said really about the second goal. Yes, it probably does look like handball from Cameron Norman. I think Jordan Thomas needs to be a little bit more protective of the ball in at that position, and he drills it in between the legs of, I think, is it Joe Day, in between the sticks for Cheltenham. Not a great goalkeeper, in all honesty, and just not a very good day at the office for Cheltenham. You can see that they have got some good young players in this team, and it is going to be a bit more of a long-term project for them to get back up into League One. But here are the statistics from the game then. Tranmere, more XG, more possession, more shots on target. Definitely deserved the victory out of this game, and obviously with Morecambe winning, it was important that they maintain that gap at 7 points. I think it's 6 games unbeaten since Nigel Adkins was sacked. I think it's 3 wins and 3 draws, so it goes to show that sometimes the fans actually know what they're talking about, and if a manager's clearly not good enough and he's probably going to take you down to non-league, you probably should sack him a little bit sooner than when you're 33 games, whatever it is, into the season. As for Cheltenham, their inconsistencies have been there for the majority of the season. They've not really been great away from home for the majority of the campaign, and they're definitely going to be finishing in mid-table. But a big win for Tranmere, very important 3 points, especially when you're playing the day before, then puts a bit of pressure on Morecambe and Carlisle. So fair play to Andy Crosby. He's probably going to keep Tranmere up this season. If he does keep you up, Tranmere fans, which I do think he will do, would you like to see him get the job on a permanent basis going into next season? Let me know down below. Into the other Friday night kick-off then, this time between Colchester and Grimsby. The Mariners coming away with a big 3 points in the playoff 6-pointer clash, I guess you could say. The visitors open the score in not even 60 seconds into the second half, and I do think it is pretty sloppy defending really from Colchester. The ball gets cut back from Corey, and Green is there to just kind of fall on top of the ball. He falls on top of Rob Hunt, and eventually it just trickles over the line. Colchester did have the ball in the back of the net in the first half, header from a free kick, but that got disallowed. I can only assume for offside. Aware Edwards would level the scoring up just at 5 minutes later with a brilliant strike, to be fair. The angle's very tight, and I do think it is on his weaker left foot. And it was a great finish from him, to be fair, because I thought he was awful when he played against Bradford City the other week. But they are the type of finishes we've become accustomed to really seeing throughout the majority of this season from Aware Edwards. And nice to see Jack Payne once again getting another goal contribution. But the Mariners would get their probably deserved victory late on in the 76th minute. Curry, who was the provider, turned into the goal scorer for the second goal. And again, a really well-worked goal from Grimsby. Some pretty sloppy play though from Colchester. Yes, Flanagan could maybe blame the pitch. It is an absolutely shocking pitch. I think they've had some problems with their drainage system over the last year or so, and they tried to repair it in the summer but didn't quite have enough time, and now obviously they are, I was going to say reaping the rewards, but what's the opposite to reaping the rewards? They're reaping the failures, really, of failing to prepare. You know, you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. In terms of the stats from the game then, while Colchester dominated possession, they barely created any XG, had no real shots, only 2 shots on target in the match. Grimsby, for an away side, to have 16 shots against a very good Colchester team. Big credit to David Artell and his side. That does now put the Mariners up in 7th, and now a 4-point gap as well between themselves and 8th, and they're still actually on a minus goal difference, having a 4-point gap between themselves and 8th place at the moment. But I still do think there are a few teams who could maybe sneak into that playoff picture. Salford with their back-to-back wins. Crewe, they've been in terrible form recently. Chesterfield, though, they're absolutely flying at this moment in time. So it'll be interesting to see who does finish in the playoffs come the end of the season. But as of right now, it's all in Grimsby's hands. Into the Saturday early kickoffs then. Port Vale picked up a big 3 points on the road, I guess in what is a little bit of a local derby, local rivalry, that type of thing. 1-0 away at Crewe Alexandra. Jaden Stockley scoring the only goal of the game late on in that one. Been stood in the Accrington away and seeing that notification come through when I saw how abject we were offensively was so frustrating. Then come 5 o'clock you see all the other results, and goodness me, it was not a good weekend for Bradford City, but just some really poor defending from Crewe for the goal. Long throw comes into the box and they just don't clear it. Mickey Dimitri just leaves Jaden Stockley and gets caught. Ball watching, experienced striker, knows where the back of the net is. One of the best headerers of a ball in the EFL. He's done it at so many different clubs, Fleetwood, Charlton, Preston, just to name a few. He's done it at Port Vale this season as well. Brilliant target man and a brilliant header, to be fair, and it seemed like absolute carnage in the away end and the home end as well. Port Vale fans running across the full length of the pitch to make it into the away end. So fair play to the Port Vale fans. I think they're actually one of the best in the division, in my opinion. But Crewe had some good chances in that first half. I think it's Kane Hemmings had a one-on-one good tackle from Jesse Deborah. Then Tom Lowry hit the crossbar as well, and it was just not to be for Crewe on the day. It seemed like quite an entertaining game, to be fair. You would have much rather watched this one rather than Accrington versus Bradford. 32 shots in total. You're looking at about 3.5 expected goals created between the two teams. Obviously Port Vale had less possession, but they've got the 3 points, and that is all that matter in football. They are now up to 3rd in the table. Yes, if Doncaster win their game in hand, they would leapfrog them once more, but to say they've only scored 49 goals so far this season, that is the least out of any team in the playoffs or higher at this moment in time. They've also conceded 38. They do a lot of these 1-0 wins. Yes, they had a frustrating result on Tuesday, which obviously we didn't cover because there was only 2 games on Tuesday, but how Port Vale didn't win that game, I'll never know. Paul Farman had an absolute masterclass, but a massive 3 points for Port Vale going into Bradford City and Walsall as their next 2 fixtures. They win both of them, they could be top of the table. As for Crewe, their poor run of form certainly does continue. Just 3 points picked up out of their last possible 15 available. The points against Salford, Doncaster and Notts County are not awful, but then you've got to be beating Fleetwood. You can't be losing 4-1 to Fleetwood, and you've got to be getting something out of the Port Vale game as well. They're now 4 points off of 7th, and I think it's going to be a real challenge for them now to get into that top 7, but a massive 3 points for Port Vale. Into the other early kickoff then on Saturday between Accrington Stanley and Bradford City. Not a great game really, in all honesty. Accrington probably the better of the two teams in that first half. They had a few half chances but didn't really create much. We didn't really create much in the entire game. We had a decent opportunity in the second half. I think it was Jamie Walker put a cross into the box. Alex Patterson just couldn't quite connect with it properly in his shot. In the end, it did go just wide. There was 16 shots and just 1 shot on target in the entire match between the two sides. Not really a lot happened. Accrington clearly very happy for the point, even though they're already safe. I didn't really understand their approach to the game. Why not come and have a go and see really what your squad ability is going into next season? Yes, in the grand scheme of things, it is a good point for them, but when you're playing such a boring style of play, they didn't use the multi-ball system as well, which I thought was a mandatory EFL rule, and all the time wasting, especially in the second half. It was a really frustrating game for us, constantly stopping and starting. The referee was absolutely terrible, and there was an incident as well in the second half where Alex Patterson got booked for it. Their player is time wasting. He's down on the floor. He's got the ball underneath him. Alex Patterson grabs the ball out of his hands and he goes down holding his face, rolling around. So, in my personal opinion, you want to see some head loss. I hope Accrington get relegated next campaign. Although, I must admit, I did quite like the midfielder, number 8, Woods. I thought he was a really tidy player. I wouldn't mind us having a look at him in the summer. But apart from that, not really much quality in the Accrington side and not really much quality in the Bradford City side. But when you think about the best Bradford City starting 11, we are missing a lot of them players in this team. I hope on Tuesday we don't really go down the sentiment type of route and we just play as best players. Get Huntington, get Shepherd, get Patterson, get Point and get Mellon, all our best players back in this starting 11. Because yes, some of these players have played well over the last couple of matches, but it's a massive game on Tuesday. We probably have to win now after that. You know, recently our form has been a little bit inconsistent. Just 2 wins in our last 5 matches, just 7 points picked up out of our last possible 15 available. We probably need 10 or 11 more points from our final 7 games to finish in the top 3, but we want to go on and win the league, and that gap to 4th is now only 4 points. points, but Doncaster also have a game in hand, so it could be 3 points if Donny do win that. As for Accrington, it's just another point closer to where I guess they want to be come the end of the season. They are 9 points above the drop zone, so with only 7 games to go, I see no real possibility of the way that they go down this season. In terms of positives, Bradford City, it's a clean sheet, point on the road, but it now probably makes Tuesday a must-win game for us. Chesterfield continued their excellent run of form with a 1-0 win away at a pretty decent in-form Barrow AFC side. Michael Jacobs scoring the only goal of the game on the 78th minute. He kind of cut in on that left foot and then decided to shoot with the outside of his right foot. Not much power and not a great amount of accuracy behind it, but there's enough to force Ben Jackson to try and deal with it, and then his deflection sent the ball into the back of the net and he did completely wrong foot. Will Stanway in between the sticks for Barrow. I wonder why Paul Farman did not play this game, but you look at the Barrow performances in terms of their player ratings, only Ben Jackson was their real standout. Chesterfield again, now they're getting more and more players back from injury. They're looking like a much better side as well, but you look at the stats from the game, not really a lot happened. Chesterfield created 0.08 XG in the entire match. They dominated possession, didn't really do a right lot with it. Barrow had a couple of one-on-one situations which they just didn't really take, and they weren't clinical enough in front of goal. In terms of the league table then, Chesterfield, after their recent run of form, 13 points picked up out of their last possible 15 available. They've put themselves now with a chance of making it into the playoffs, 7 points off with a game in hand. They win that, 4 points off, 7 games to go. After that, who knows what could happen. Barrow, unfortunately for them, their unbeaten run has come to an end. Losing though to an informed Chesterfield side is not the end of the world. It could potentially just be, come the end of the season, a mid-table clash. But as for Chesterfield, surely their fans are starting to believe that maybe there's a little bit of hope for them. Maybe they could sneak in. Maybe. Who knows, maybe. Bromley and Salford played out another high-scoring game. I think it was 3-3 when the two sides met a couple of months ago. I think Bromley were actually 3-0 up in that game. This game didn't quite have as many goals, just a 5 on this occasion. Bromley opened the scoring through an Osama Ashley own goal where the ball just wasn't really cleared from a set piece, and for some reason he's turned it into his own net. It wasn't a great couple of minutes for him, as he had literally just been booked the minute before that. But 8 minutes, I was going to say 6, 8 minutes after his own goal, he would register an assist, a brilliant through ball to be fair, and Cole Stockton doing what he's always done at this level, and a brilliant finish into the back of the net. The visitors completed their comeback temporarily through Gillingham. Some great play down the right hand side. Bromley maybe having a counter-attack opportunity, but great play from the mine. He just kept his run, and in the end it was a brilliant finish into the back of the net. The visitors made it 3 in the second half, another goal for Cole Stockton, and maybe one which I think Grant Smith will be a little bit disappointed with. You can see with the way that Byron Webster looks at him. I think that everybody knows he probably should do a bit better with it, but you couldn't keep Michael Cheek out for the full match, could Salford, as he would equalise from a corner, not equalise, sorry, he would pull a goal back from a corner in the second half, a great left-footed volley into the back of the net. In terms of the stats from the game, Salford scored with all 3 shots on target. Bromley had 16 shots, more possession, more XG, probably deserved at least a point out of the game, but sometimes you just don't quite get the rub of the green. In terms of the league table then, Salford, it probably does put them back in the playoff picture, 6 points off with a game in hand. This has been 2 very important wins for them against teams around them like Bromley and Grimsby as well. In terms of Bromley, they've been a very streaky team so far this season. They go on a good run, then go on a bad run. Right now, they are certainly on a bad run, just 1 point picked up out of their last 4 matches, and now the playoffs, they're 10 points away with 7 games to go. I do think that is going to be a bit of a challenge for them, but again, it's always been about building for next season after like game week 30 when they knew they were probably going to be safe. So fair play to Bromley. They've had an unbelievable first season in the AFL, but that is a big win for Salford City. Doncaster Rovers dispatched of Carlisle United very convincingly, as expected really. Doncaster are very good at home against the teams in the bottom half of the table, but I think it was up until a couple of weeks ago they'd pretty much won every game against teams in the bottom half of the table, but lost near enough every game against teams, or certainly not won against teams in the top half of the table at home as well, despite being very good away from home. But this one was just pretty easy really for them. Owen Bailey opens up the scoring on 36 minutes. Some great play from Jordan Gibson down the left hand side, absolutely twists Archie Davies inside out. Owen Bailey with the shot. I think Gabriel Breeze will be a little bit disappointed with his efforts there. The second goal, genuinely embarrassing from Carlisle. It's not a term that I would use lightly, but that is embarrassing, that is pathetic, that's spineless, it's gutless. Genuinely, you could pick 4 Carlisle fans out of the crowd at completely random. You could pick a 3-year-old, you can pick a 78-year-old, and they would have defended better than what Davies, Lavelle, Thomas did in that situation. I've seen some Carlisle fans saying that they want to keep Lavelle around. He's been a big part of your back-to-back relegation. Yeah, he scored a couple of goals and he's not been as tragic as some of the other garbage that you've had, but he has been just as bad. Awful defending from Doncaster, not from Doncaster, from Carlisle, sorry. Some great play from Doncaster, and of course Jordan Gibson would score against his former club. Little knee slide as well. It would have been nice to see him do that in front of the Blues fans, and just 5 minutes later, if it wasn't already, the game would be wrapped up. Harry Clifton scoring about 30 seconds after coming on off of the bench. A pretty poor throwing from Cameron Harper. I think it's Sean Fazia doesn't really control it very well, just gets bullied in that midfield, and some great play from Owen Bailey. He cuts it across for Harry Clifton, and that is all she wrote for that game. In terms of the stats, Doncaster better in pretty much every metric apart from possession, and even that was very close. More XG, more shots on target, very easy for Doncaster, and that keeps them 4th in the table at the moment, but they win their game in hand. They are up to 3rd with obviously then they'll be 2 points off of top as well. It has been a weird time for Doncaster, a couple frustrating results like the defeat against Bromley, the draw against Swindon being 2-0 up, and obviously the recent draw against Crewe where they felt they should have had a couple of penalties. So nice for them to get back to winning ways, and it really could shape up to be a title decider between Doncaster and Bradford come the, I think is it the second to last game of the season, but Grant McCann is very insistent on only giving us 1,000 tickets. What does that say about his team if he can't play in front of 4,000 away fans? Harrogate and Gillingham played out a 1-1 draw in Gareth Ainsworth's first game in charge of the Gills. I thought it was a bit of an interesting move, to be fair, given how much he was talking about building a long-term project at Shrewsbury and how excited he was for next season, regardless of the division that they're in. And then he's gone and jumped ship to Gillingham, which I think in terms of finances and backing is obviously a step up for him, but a bit of a strange move in terms of the way they spoke in the media and all that sort of stuff. And I actually listened to a lot of Gareth Ainsworth's stuff because I do think he is a very good talker, where pretty much everything he said in his first Shrewsbury interview, he said in the Gillingham interview. It's basically a carbon copy. But in terms of this game then, 2 penalties, both of them I think just a bit sloppy really from the conceding team. Glenn Morris gave away the spot kick for Harrogate. He fouled Josh March, who then stepped up and coolly converted it into the back of the net, sending the Gills experienced shot stopper the complete wrong way, and then Gillingham would be awarded a spot kick of their own in the second. I think it was Jack Muldoon was accused of a fouled Ollie Hawkins. Them type of fouls are very weird ones for me, because technically speaking, the Gillingham player just kicked the Harrogate player, and this is generally not just this incident alone, but they're always given as fouls to the people who've done the kicking rather than the people who have been kicked. And I can certainly see why the referee does see it as a penalty, but I do think that in terms of a rule is always a bit bizarre. I do see though why the referee has given it, and then it was coolly converted by Max Clark. Both penalties going into the same corner in the same net, which I thought was pretty interesting. In terms of the stats from the game then, both teams had some decent opportunities, possession exactly equal, Harrogate having a couple of more shots and a few more on target, but Gillingham did create more expected goals. In terms of the lineup, it's not too dissimilar from what we've seen recently from the Gills under John Coleman. Johnny Williams came in and got a start in the midfield. No Armani Little, maybe he's picked up some type of injury or suspension, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but he hasn't really changed it up all too much. And in terms of the standings then, just 2 teams who I guess are going to be playing League 2 football next season. It maintains Gillingham's unbeaten run. They've gone away from home and haven't lost, which is good news for them. Harrogate's another point closer to where they want to be come the end of the season, and I think they probably will be fine, but again, that in the end probably doesn't really mean all too much for this season. Well, where on earth to start with a game like this? Obviously, I've just gone through and watched the highlights, and I don't think I've seen a team as spineless defensively as MK Don. Some of the defending from them goals rivals the second goal Doncaster scored against Carlisle from this weekend. Goodness me, MK Dons are absolutely awful defensively, just completely switching off every opportunity. MK Dons actually opened the scoring in this game through Danilo Orsi. He's got a couple of goals since his loan move from from Burton in January, and really poor defending from Fleetwood. They just don't clear the ball. Horsey then fires into the back of the net, but the Cods would equalise just before half-time. A low cross comes into the box from Sean Rooney. It's more of a pass really than a cross, and it looks like it's just going to go into the hands of the MK Dons goalkeeper, but Matty Virtue is alive with no real defenders around him to poke into the back of the net. Just 4 minutes into the second half, James Bolton would find himself on the score sheet as well through a well-worked corner, and again some terrible defending from MK Dons. How you can leave a big massive centre-half just completely unmarked inside the penalty area is criminal. He had a tap-in about 6 yards out. 10 minutes later, Marsh would make it 3, just a free kick where he's completely unmarked. Ball gets played through, and it's just a simple one-on-one into the back of the net. More terrible defending. The fourth goal, can't even really remember it off the top of my head, but it was probably some more terrible defending. I think a cross came across the face of goal, and it was a tap-in for Davenport. To be fair, Scott Hogan scored probably goal of the weekend, or certainly from what I've seen so far. Great ball over the top from Maguire, and a great finish from Hogan. It was very similar to Rooney to Van Persie versus Aston Villa in the 13-14 season for Manchester United. A great finish, to be fair, but in the grand scheme of things, means absolutely nothing for the MK season. They need to get rid of this walk ball, get rid of all these tippy-tappy centre-halves, and get some proper defenders in who can defend, because you look at the amount of XG that Fleetwood have created with only 39% of the possession. It goes to show, you look at the stats that MK Dons have every week, they always have more possession, less expected goals, less shots on target, less big chances. Possession means nothing if you're going to do absolutely nothing with it. Again, come the end of the season, this game probably doesn't really mean much. It's a great win for Fleetwood after their recent, pretty frustrating run of form. As for MK Dons, they've been on an okay-ish run of form, only losing to Port Vale in their previous 4 matches, but getting battered at home to Fleetwood is never really a nice sight. And I would say I feel sorry for the MK Dons fans, but I don't. Swindon fans have been telling me all week that Will Wright definitely should be amongst the best centre-halves in the division when I did a video over on the main channel ranking the best 10 in the league, in my opinion. I personally didn't have Will Wright in there. Yeah, he's got a couple of goal contributions, but defensively, I don't think he's been amazing, and my point was proved in literally the first game after that. He gets absolutely bullied by Andy Dallas, and to be fair, the defending from the rest of the Swindon team isn't amazing. Lee Angle on the score sheet, once again, he must have got, 6, 7 goals so far this season. When he's been fit and available, he has been a really important player for the Shrimps, and again, with Tranmere winning, they needed to get something out of this game. They've not gained any ground, but they've certainly not lost any. Swindon dominated possession, but again, had less shots on target. Derek Adams up to his old tricks once again. It was actually the number 16, Jake Kane, with some terrible defending for the Morecambe goal. Looking at the formation here, surely Tom Nichols was not playing centre mid. Isn't Kane a centre mid as well? Surely that Flash Scores have got this formation wrong, because that looks absolutely all over the place. But a brilliant win for Morecambe, playing 3 strikers. Big fan of Derek Adams doing that. They've got a left back, a right back as well. He's working with what he's got, and he's done an unbelievable job to keep them within a chance of survival this season. As for Swindon, it's not been a great run of form for them without a win in their last 5, and they've now rewarded Ian Holloway with a new 3-year contract, which I'm a little bit bizarred by. Is that even a word? I'm bizarred. As for Morecambe, still 7 points from safety, still battling away, picked up a couple of decent wins recently against Wimbledon, now against Swindon as well. If only they got the 2 extra points when they bottled the 2-0 lead against Barrow, 35 points would be a little bit more achievable, but it's 7 games to go. They're probably going to need to win 5 or 6 of them and hope Tranmere start slipping up if they do want to survive. Could maybe Harrogate potentially get dragged into it as well. I think Accrington will certainly have enough to stay up. But a brilliant win for Morecambe and a disappointing one for Swindon. Let me know your thoughts down below, Swindon fans, not only on some of you saying Will Wright's one of the best centre-halves in the division, but also Ian Holloway's new contract. Notts County got back 2 winning ways with a 2-0 victory away at Newport County. Charlie Whittaker with a brace in this game, and I know he's had some varied opinions on him so far this season. He's had some inconsistent performances, but a couple of well-taken goals in this game. The first one is terrible defending though from Newport. Whittaker's got loads of time, and Townsend sprints off of his goal line, and it's a great finish, to be fair, from Whittaker into the back of the net. The second goal though is a brilliant finish. McGoldrick plays it into Whittaker, and on the half volley drills it into the bottom corner from outside the penalty area. A great strike into the back of the net. Newport hit the crossbar after that from a set play, but apart from that, didn't really get much of a sniff in this game. They had a few dragged efforts which went wide, but Notts County definitely the better of the 2 teams. More expected goals, more possession, way more shots. Newport didn't even register a shot on target at home. Newport fans, let me know down below, is Nelson Yardim the man that you want to be taken into next season as your first team manager. As we know, they've got a horrible defensive record, 64 goals conceded, the most of any team in the division, and they've got the 5th worst goal difference in the entire league. They've won 1 and lost 4 of their last 5 matches. As for Notts County, that is a massive important win for them, as there has recently been a bit of talk about, well, will they maybe even make it into the playoffs with Colchester's very good run of form. But that point against Crewe, while it was disappointing, they maybe should have had a couple of penalties, it would always nice to bounce back with an away victory. I think they've certainly, in terms of performances, been a bit better on the road this season than what they have at home, because you'd expect the home team to be a little bit more open and expansive, and it allows Stuart Maynard to implement his system and style of play. They're now only 2 points off of the top 3 once again. It's really getting tight between all the teams at the top of the table. Just 6 points now between 1st and 6th. It's really anyone's game. It's in the hands of Walsall, Bradford and Doncaster, with them obviously having the game in hand, but I can almost assure you now it won't be Walsall 1st, Bradford 2nd, Doncaster 3rd come the end of the season. It will be very interesting to see how it does finish, but that is a big win for Notts County, one of them where you've just got to get the win, and they played quite well as well. Nice to see Charlie Whitaker get a brace. I think that's probably his 4th or 5th goal now since joining in January, and that's a very important win for them. Frustrating though for Bradford City, of course. Walsall and Wimbledon have played out a 1-1 draw in a big automatic promotion at 6 points. The Wombles opened up the scoring on 70 minutes. A brilliant strike, to be fair, from Omar Bogle. Original play gets played into like the left channel. Bogle beats up the number 4 for Walsall, which I think is Oisin McKenzie, and then eventually there's a bit of a ricochet, eventually falls to Bogle on the edge of the box, and a brilliant, composed, powerful strike into the bottom corner, leaving, I assume, Sam Hornby. It was Sam Hornby with absolutely no chance of saving it, but the visitors could not hold on for all 3 points, as Taylor Allen would equalise in the 87th minute with a late free kick. And including this game, Walsall's next 3 matches, I think they've got, is it Doncaster, and I know they've definitely got Port Vale on Saturday. It was very important that whatever Walsall do in the first game, they then get the exact same result in the next 2. So if they won this game, we need them to win the next 2. Draw, and so on and so on. So thankfully they've drawn this game, so now we need a draw on Tuesday and a draw on Saturday preferably, but knowing Bradford City's look, they'll win one of them games and lose the other one, and they'll end up that way somehow 4th come 5 p.m. on Saturday. But a very important point for Walsall, not to lose at home against the promotion rival is always important. They didn't play amazing, I wouldn't say. They had some shots, but just, again, really lacking that clinical edge, just 2 on target from 14. Less possession as well against Wimbledon, which goes to show the Matt Sadler style of play. Yes, Wimbledon didn't really create too much in terms of expected goals, but they had 4 shots on target, forced Sam Hornby into a couple of saves. In terms of the league table, then, Wimbledon now 6 points off of Walsall. I guess that could have been 3. Is that how maths works? That could have been 3 points, but obviously it wasn't to be in that automatic promotion race, though. It's going to be really interesting to see where anyone finishes come the end of the season. There's going to be a lot of twists. There's going to be a lot of turns. It's not just going to be straightforward for Port Vale, Doncaster and Notts County just because they've won this game, and it's not the end of the world for Walsall, Bradford and Wimbledon just because they've all drawn their matches as well. It's nice to actually see that teams in the top 6 seem to be wanting promotion. Out of everyone this week, it's probably Bradford who want promotion the least with their result. Well, our result, that is my football club, I guess. So a very frustrating one. In terms of the bottom of the table, I think Carlisle and Morecambe are definitely down. It's a big ask for them to now try and survive. I'm still going to stick with my top 3 of Bradford, Doncaster and Port Vale, but if Jody Jones is back soon, don't be surprised if Notts County finish in that top 3. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 100 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, will be massively appreciated. Don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Who do you think is getting promoted? Who do you think is getting relegated? And I'll see you very soon for another one.